Did you see Saw?
Of course I see Saw. Moz and I see Saw all the time.
No, the movie. Did you see the movie Saw?
Oh, yeah. Great film. Almost as fun as going on a seesaw.
All right, so then we jump to Saw 3, which came out 2 years later. So they gave this one a little bit of time to breathe.
I thought it just came out 1 year later. It came out 1 year after Saw 2. It's like 2004 Saw, then 2005.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
They bust these out once a year for a long time. It's like what we wanted to happen with Final Destination happens with Saw.
You're right. I misspoke. But yeah, they brought back same director, Darren Lynn Bousman, but this time the king himself, James Wan, came back to write. So they got the old gang back together again. Leigh Whannell, James Wan.
Yep, I was very happy to see that because, like, you can tell. I mean, they kind of had to, like we said, retcon Saw 2 to make it a sequel, but Saw 3 is like, I love this because it's from the guys who did the original. They came up with the whole story. Leigh Whannell wrote it, just like the first movie, and the guy from 2 is directing, which I don't think he's a bad director at all. I think he's perfectly great to take over. I honestly wish he had done more of these because I feel like they kind of dip in quality after this point.
Yeah, but Donnie is back for a couple scenes, but the most of this is led by Amanda, the Dr. Lynn, and then Jeff.
Slow ass Jeff, as I like to call him.
Hey, Jigsaw said that he was moving faster than expected.
I think that was just to put some fucking thing in your brain that makes you think he's moving fast when I'm really like, this guy's taking his sweet ass time. Like, he literally has to sit and go around in a circle and scream for like 5 to 10 minutes before he does anything. And then, oh God, they're dead already.
The funny thing about that line of him going faster than expected, I was like, all of these traps are on a timer. So he's just moving between traps, just walking the distance between traps faster than you expected. Like, what does that mean?
I don't know. I think
he's not even doing anything. He's just watching people die.
I know. That's what I don't like this whole thing. And I feel like they use it a lot more in the sequels. It becomes more of like the standard where it's like one person going through multiple different rooms and either watching people die or trying to decide who to save or whatever the fuck. I just find it to be less exciting than like a Saw 2 or a Saw 1 where they're like group dynamic or even just like one or two people in a trap. But everyone's in the trap. You know, you're not just like, oh, gee, how do I want to save this person? I guess it doesn't really matter because that's not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the actor for Jeff, Angus McFadden, he's somebody like I've seen 100 times. Like,
no, he's a dollar store fucking Carl Urban is what he is. Billy Butcher.
He's good though. Like, he's a good actor. I like him in you know the things I've seen. He's never like a leading guy.
Name one other thing he's been in.
He was in Braveheart.
Okay, and name one other thing.
He was in We Bought a Zoo, and I'm definitely not looking.
Hate that you know
I'm
that.
not looking at IMDb. Don't worry.
I hate that you know this.
I mean, he's kind of the side story. Like, the main story of this is Amanda, Lynn, and Jigsaw. And all that stuff, but the movie starts with Donnie in the room.
Donnie,
and he is the real innovator of this franchise because he's like, I'm not going to cut my foot off. I'm just going to smash the shit out of it, slide it through. Which I'm like, that is really the better way to go. Because like,
it looked pretty fucking brutal. I mean, granted, I agree with you. I said this on the first one. Like, it makes sense because I think at least you have your foot. And like they can fix it, you know, it's like, but it looks really like a long process, but I guess so would be cutting off your foot. So I guess they're probably even. And at least you get to keep the foot.
I mean, it's a lot easier to break a bone than it is to saw through a bone.
I agree. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I feel like it's still pretty brutal, but like it's definitely preferable, I think, instead of doing the whole sawed foot. I love that whole sequence. I think it's pretty good. And like, his whole desperation and like even like he's about to try the sod. He's like, but then it's like, fuck Amanda. You know, I hate this. He's a real innovator. He survives. And then it's like, well, fuck you. It doesn't matter. That's the one thing that makes me mad about this movie.
And when he smashes his foot, I was like, the sound editing is back.
Yep.
Like, the sounds of all that stuff is it's OG.
I mean, they
So
still show some pretty awful visuals with those, but
yeah. So I'm gonna say this is the movie where they go full blown torture.
I
Like
agree. I agree with that statement. I put 4 out of 5 puke emojis for the traps in this movie because I think that they
oh,
are the worst.
every note that I have on the traps, I'm like, this is nasty.
Yeah, they're all disgusting. And when I say the worst, I don't mean like they're so dumb. Like for Saw 2, I just said 2 because it didn't feel like they were innovative. This one, I feel like they're very innovative. They've got a lot of creativity, some cool traps. However, cool is a subjective word. I don't know if I'd say like that pig vat is cool. It's pretty fucking horrible. All of these are. But that's what makes it. I think that's where you're right. This movie is where that became the thing. Right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, we need to make cool traps that are really fucking horrible.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it makes sense that they kept going down that road because they upped the budget from 4 million to 10 million. It kept paying off. It did 160 worldwide. So
you'd think they would have given him a little bit more money even with that, but nope. You don't need much, I guess. If you get too much, it's just 3D CGI. So that's probably why.
Yeah. But yeah, this is definitely the one that it's just like, yep, we're going full torture porn. That's our thing now. And also, like, all of the kills in this, they're not like the normal Saw kills because Amanda's doing them, but like it's just Jeff watching people die. The people dying have no way of escaping. It's all on Jeff to save them. So really, Jeff is just watching people get tortured to death.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, and like the things that he's having to do are really just like they're really uneven across the board. Like it's like one is like, he actually has to like get in there and like he freezes part of his face, or like later then it's like, oh, you just have to burn the toys. It's like, well, that's easy. But that one takes him the longest. It's like, I don't understand this guy.
Yeah, the him getting frozen to the pipe is the most pain that he experienced in the entire movie.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
But so the first death though is the chain death. The guy who's chained up he's got the chain through his mouth and then through it's very Hellraiser-esque.
It was very Hellraiser. And I was like, this is actually a pretty innovative trap. And I like the fact that they're all places where like you'd be totally fine. Like it won't kill you, but it's like still a lot of blood. The one that gets me though is that one that's like in his mouth and like through like around the chin. Like, how do you pull that out? There's bone.
Yeah, you can't rip through that, which goes back to this is Amanda's trap. And
that's true.
She's just killing people. And then
she's just a fucker.
She goes full blown crazy in this movie. Like,
yes, but I have to agree.
Then we get I'm calling it the spine ripper with the detective.
Yeah.
Where she puts her hand in the acid and that
was pretty bad. I remember when I first saw this movie, that was the one that really stood out to me because it's pretty fucked. And it's like, again, with these traps, the moral is don't do anything that they're asking you to do because it doesn't matter. And I'm like, how mad would you be if you went through all that fucking burning your hand all the way off almost and then getting it. And then it's like, oh, fuck, I'm still trapped. Like, that is some real bullshit. That's some real fucked up shit.
No, I mean the extra budget in this movie was definitely on the practical gore.
Great practical gore when the chest rips out and like it kind of has. It's almost like beautiful afterwards. Reminded me of something from like that Hannibal show.
Yeah,
where it's like kind of disturbing as fuck, but it's kind of beautiful the way it's like she almost looks like she has angel wings. I mean, I know it's her ribs dangling, but still.
So then we get to the call it the ice shower, cold shower.
That one looks pretty rough because she's like butt ass naked and they're hanging up and getting sprayed continuously. I guess I don't know what would be worse. I think I'd maybe rather freeze instead of like get burnt to death, but it's still not going to be good. That was pretty painful.
And they kind of flip the father-son thing from the second one. Like the whole thing is the son is connected to the father. This one, all these people are connected to his son's death, and he's a super spiteful person because of all of it. So yeah,
and it's kind of weird because it's like some of these people are like, do you really think that they should be in here? I mean, the first chick was the witness who didn't say what she saw right, so like sure, and then the judge, but I'm like, And then just all of these people. I'm like, if I was him, I'd just be like, you know what? Fuck all of you. I'm just gonna sit here and watch you die. You know? Or just move on. Be like, you know what? I'm done with this room. This is gross. I don't want to stick around.
Yeah. So then we get the pig bath, and that was disgusting.
That's the worst one for me. I can't even watch that without doing like the game night thing of like, like, I just want to puke. It's so fucking nasty. Just the idea of that is so bothersome. And I read in the trivia that like the pigs were made out of like foam and latex, but they had real fucking maggots in there. So they like really, so it was nasty shit that guy was in. And I was like, oh my God, this guy, like, I mean, Jesus, he's not even a fucking, like he's a nobody. I hope he got paid extra for that shit. That is some gnarly ass thing. Like I figured it was all fake, right?
Yeah. And I totally forgot that he ends up saving him.
I kind of feel like no matter who I hated, I might want to try and save them from that. That's a pretty horrible way to go. And this movie has a lot of shit ways to go, but that's got to be my worst, I think, because it's slower than the others.
Yeah, and it's not like drowning in water. You're drowning in guts. Like the smell.
I'm gonna fucking puke, dude, just thinking of it. It's so goddamn nasty. And you know what's funny is that I think Tobin Bell in the trivia, it says that he always thought that one was great and that's his favorite. And I was like, of course it is, you fucking nasty shit. That's disturbing.
So the next scene, it's not a death, but I thought it was a very memorable scene, was the brain surgery scene.
Yeah, that stuck out to me the first time I watched it. And I was shocked because I'm like, this is like some of the goriest parts in the movie. And they said that the MPAA didn't even fucking bat an eye at that shit and didn't even make them cut any of it. They left it all in because they said it's like the same that you would see in like a surgery documentary or like on TV on like a surgery show. And I'm like, it's so fucked that's okay to show, but like some of this other stuff, that's too much. If there's too much blood, it's bad. But if it's a fucking brain, that's great.
That was the thing. Like, I remember seeing this in theaters and like that scene, I'm like, this is insane because it looks so real.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is back in 2006. Like, the practical effects on this were amazing.
They still look pretty good, honestly.
Up. Like,
all of this shit does, really. I mean, Saw has some of the best like practical effects throughout the whole series, I would say. They really lean into that. I think that makes a difference because like they're just, especially this one, I feel like, because the traps are so fucked that like the gore to match it is like really good. Like it really makes it feel a lot more real. It's like you can feel what they're feeling. I don't like it, but it's good in the way of like that's what a horror movie should do.
Yeah, practical effects are great. So then we get the flashback to Amanda collecting all the people from the first movie,
killing them.
We see kind of the opposite POV of the amazing photograph scene in the first one in the dark.
Like her point of view, yeah.
Yeah, that whole scene, we didn't mention it in the first time we watched it, but like that is, in my mind, it's an iconic, scary scene.
It still scares the shit out of me because that's like the way to do it. When you have a camera like that, they kind of do the same thing in this old Hitchcock movie, Rear Window, and it works really well in that too, even though it's so old, because it's like, that's a really scary thing in the dark. Is like if you can only see with those flashes, because then it's like you're setting yourself up for a jump scare and the whole audience knows because you're like, oh my God, where is it going to be? It's right there. Yeah. And is that the first time you see the pig face in that one? So. I think so too. So it's like extra jarring because you're like, what the fuck? There's a pig man in this? I thought this was a serial killer.
But that flashback scene, it made me, it reminded me or made me think of something from the first one that like, there's no answer to this question, but like they throw the key that for Adam's chain, they just throw it in the bathtub with him, and
she tosses it on top of him instead of in his pocket, which is I think what Jigsaw originally. I don't know. I read that online. I don't know if he said that, but like I think it's supposed to show that like she's pretty like she's doing these in almost a spiteful way, like in the way of like I don't want them to succeed, so I'm just gonna like throw it in there because he'll probably lose it.
But the thing that I was thinking is like, even if he didn't say put it in his pocket, like what would happen if he wakes up and he doesn't accidentally pull the drain and he just has the key. Like, does he just unlock the chain and walk out? Like, like
Yeah, like what lesson is he learning from that? I mean, maybe they're just assuming Adam's a fucking dumb shit and wouldn't even know what that was until the last second. You know, like maybe they're just like, this guy's a fucking moron. But I don't know, actually. I have zero idea. That's an interesting point. Because, I think it's cool that they go back to this stuff, but sometimes it raises a bit more questions. Like when you go back and think about it. It is funny, though. The trivia said that the set for the original room that they use in this movie is the same one that they used in Scary Movie 4 because they did an exact replica and they didn't have the old sets anymore. So they used the same one.
That's great.
And I was like, that's incredible because like it looks just like the original one in Scary Movie. So I just think it's funny that they shared the props.
So then also we get a kind of an explanation of how Jigsaw was able to lay there for 8 hours.
I mean, I would assume that he's doing something because he has a fucking doctor checking his pulse. He knows that guy's a fucking doctor. Like that was his doctor. So he's like, I just love it. It is cool to kind of see it from that point of view. And like, they're just so calm about some really fucked up shit they're doing. Like they're just going about it like a regular day. And I'm just like, this is almost more upsetting than any of the traps.
So then we get to I think the worst torture of the entire franchise up to this point, the rack,
and it has to happen
bones. It has to happen to a black guy.
It has to happen to a black guy, of course. Fucking Saw. I will say, I think this one's bad, but like only because, well, I think there's a lot of reasons it's bad. Obviously, it looks fucking horrible. It's like the worst. But the one thing that makes me envious is that neck one at the end. That's how I want to go. I want my neck slowly cracked, turned all the way around so I can finally let like that one crack that I have in there loose and just get a little bit of sweet relief before they twist my head off. Like that's what I was like. I kind of envied that. I need that machine to just kind of twist my neck back a little bit past where it won't go with my own hands, you know?
But
it is terrible. The other limbs.
After breaking every limb in your body, that one little pop, little air bubble
I'm
pop,
saying I just want the
all
head.
worth it.
I don't want the body twist. I don't need that. I don't need that working out on my arms and limbs. No fucking way. That was way worse to me. And like the twisting of it is just so fucked. And also like they kind of don't even give this guy a chance.
They
like,
give none of them a chance.
Well, they do. Like, I mean, he saves the fucking, the judge guy from the pig vat.
Yeah, he
that
couldn't find
slower.
the key. He couldn't find the keyhole or whatever.
I didn't even see a keyhole. So I was like, again, this just feels like all these traps. It doesn't matter. Just let the person die because I guess it's going to be faster than you letting them being tortured and then trying to save them. He's always so late. And I feel like a lot of them, they're just like, fuck it. This person's going to die.
That was a good little twist, no pun intended. Of he unties the key and he's like, I outsmarted you, and then the gun goes off and just shoots half that guy's face off.
That was hilarious. I was like, this is great. That guy deserved it too. He sucked. I mean, I guess he didn't necessarily deserve the pig gut drowning, but like he definitely deserved to be shot in the face. But I do love, he's like, dude, what are you doing? Standing there? You're fucking accomplice to murder. Let's go. And I'm like, this guy does have the right attitude. He's at least trying to fucking get Jeff to hurry up. And I thought it was a cool twist that like, in order to save the guy that he's been dreaming about killing, is that he has to take a bullet for him. Granted, the judge really takes the bullet for him, but like, that's a cool kind of, I think that was like the most Jigsaw trap out of all of them in a way. Like I know they're all Amanda's traps, but like that one did kind of feel like more classic Jigsaw.
Yeah. Then we see what happens to Donnie. He gets in a fight with Amanda and he beats the shit out of Amanda.
Thank God. She needed it in this movie. She's really like I was like, did you fucking actually ever listen to Jigsaw? Not that he's like the most pure and innocent man, but she's really taken this thing and running with it. I don't know. But I agree. I was disappointed because I'm like, man, he gets out of there and like she says that she killed him, but it's like, obviously we didn't see it, so it's not real.
Well, didn't Jigsaw say that he cleaned up her mess?
So they leave that as like a mystery because I think he does come back in the fourth one or something, like briefly. He's there, but not for long. I think it's like that's how they do it with the cops. Anyone who's a main character, like 2 movies later, you die, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, he's been in a fucking trap for 3 years. Jesus. So yeah,
Yeah, every scene where like he stepped on his foot or like she kicked his foot, I'm like, oh,
That was so bad. That was worse for me almost than the guy getting his whole limbs twisted. I was like, that one shot I think where he steps on it and you see it like so sideways. It's just some gnarly shit. It gets me in the way that like Misery when with one sledgehammer
Oh,
to the ankle. It's
yeah,
not bloody or whatever, but the way that it just twists so
yeah.
unnaturally, it's very similar to like that. And I just feel like that broken ankle, ugh, like stepping on it, and he's like, ah, like he really sells the pain in this one. Like I was like, dude, maybe he really broke his fucking foot. I don't know. Like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings.
So and then so you said that your torture score for this was
Torture score, I like that.
4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 pukes out of 5. It could be 5, but I feel like 4 out of 5.
I think I would put it at 5 out of 5 because they are disgusting and violent and gory, and I don't know, maybe it goes down as we see as the gore intensifies, but I don't know, in my
Yeah,
mind it's a 5.
I feel like they get gorier. I could be wrong, but
I think
also
they do, but
I think I'm just getting desensitized, Jace. I think I've seen a lot now. I've seen some fucking shit, and these are bad. I think if the guy had really drowned in the pig thing and like there'd been a lot more puking, that would have been 5 out of 5 for
Mhm.
me. I don't like puke. That's one thing
Yeah.
I really don't like. But should we talk about the twist ending?
Yeah. So here I'm gonna throw this at you. So Saw 2, I said, was the Ocean's 11 ending.
Mm-hmm.
The ending of this one, they're not ripping anyone off because the movie hasn't come out yet. But I call this one the Inception ending because we get the reveal that they're playing a game within a game within another game that's inside of the original game and then leads to a final game.
That's pretty great, actually, because yeah, it's like how many fucking levels deep are they in this? They're like, he's like, yeah, Jigsaw's got how many fucking things, plates spinning with all these games, and I think wasn't it like Saw 4? That's what we were talking about. Where we're like, I'm pretty sure that one's like, oh, it happens at the same time as Saw 3, so that's twice as many of these things that he's fucking juggling at the same time, and he's on his deathbed getting brain surgery. So like, how does this fucking guy do it? That is so true, though. You're so right, because it is like it's like a kind of peeling back the layers of an onion, like where you're like, okay, here's the first reveal, and now the next one, and now the next one. It's like it just keeps going until the very end. Like it's insane. Like the last 15 minutes, you get at least 3 to 4 twists. Like they're really taking it from the second movie having 2. They're like, oh, we got to double it now.
Yeah.
We got to twist them like crazy.
They like start the movie off with the doctor sleeping with a guy, and he's like, I want to he's like, what do you want? He's like, a divorce. And so we're like, oh, okay, marriage
they do a
on
good
the rocks.
misdirect with that. Yeah.
And then we get the whole thing with Jeff, and so like the whole movie we aren't thinking that they're connected, and then towards the end, like, there's the little things, and then Jeff is finding the gun pieces throughout the game, which are like, what are these for?
I figured it was to kill himself, but that was just my wishful thinking, I think.
But yeah, then it's like, oh, actually, Doctor, your game is also connected to Jeff's game, but also we are playing with Amanda. This whole thing is actually her game to see if she makes the right choice. And then Jeff, now we're back to your game, and if you kill me, then your wife dies, and also I took your daughter.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, Jesus fuck. And I kind of love that Jigsaw's like, oh, Amanda, you destroyed like how many people's lives? It's like, you're one to fucking talk.
Yeah.
I mean, this is maybe like, and also it's just, I think because the more we get of Jigsaw, and maybe that's why it works so well in the first couple, but like by this movie, you really start questioning, like, so he really thinks he's not a serial killer, right? Because he's like, that's his whole thing, was that he's testing Amanda, because granted, like, sure, he gives people a way out of their traps, but like, does he? Not much. A little, maybe a little window of opportunity, but it's very small. She doesn't give you any, and it's like she's kind of like, you're a fucking murderer too, don't lie to yourself or me, right? And he's like, you know, I guess the only reason I think he's a little different is because he doesn't seem, is he the only serial killer in the history of, like, I mean, maybe the world too, that doesn't get enjoyment from his victim's death? It's like he wants them to live. It's like he doesn't want them to die, you know? It's like he's killing people, but he kind of wants them to live, even though he's putting them in traps. It's weird.
Yeah, but then it's like if you do survive his traps, then you end up becoming a part of his crew.
Yeah.
So it's like a cult. Like
It's a cult. Yeah, you're right. And you know what? He is a fucking killer. Exactly. I mean, Charles Manson was a fucking murderer. Granted,
Yeah.
he didn't directly kill these people, but I would say directing people and having them go kill people is pretty much basically killing them, you know?
and him and Amanda have this whole fight about like we're both killers. And he's like, I've never killed anyone. And it's like, I actually kind of respect Amanda because like she's not putting any paint on the crappy house. Like,
Yeah.
The house sucks. You're just lying and saying, oh yeah, this is the landlord renovation special. Like, no, it's all shit. You're all shit.
Yeah.
Stop trying to justify it.
But I do understand that he's like, at least I give my people a chance, which is like, oh, okay, so you're a humane serial killer. That's really nice. Like, you know, there's also like, I feel like maybe it was one of the new Dexter. There's like a serial killer who like kidnaps women in a cabin and then lets them loose to like run away. And then he hunts them with his guns and like follows them in the woods and kills them. And I'm like, so that's, I mean, it's like, and he's like, oh, well, I don't, you know, I let them out. It's like, well, you're still a killer. Okay. Just because you let someone run away or have a chance to get away doesn't mean that you're a nicer serial killer. That's not a thing.
It's just, it's murder with extra steps.
But I think it is kind of nice, at least, that he does say, hey, you know what? If you did this really fucked up thing, I'll let you live. Because that's really the whole point of what he's doing is that like it happened to him. So he's like, I'm going to do it for other people. But still, it's like, yeah, she's kind of right to call out his bullshit. But then I kind of hate the idea of like being in a trap that you just can't win. There's no point in even trying at that point. Just kill people. Just don't.
Yeah.
What do you got to make this whole thing? Like that's kind of more sadistic.
It's like, okay, chill out, Jigsaw. You survived a car crash. Like,
yeah,
let's take a break.
Let's take a fucking break. I did want to say that when I was trying to say like what the twist is in this movie, because I wanted to sum it up in my notes, and I just did this in song, but I was like, I just said it was Amanda's test all along, like fucking Agatha from WandaVision. I was it was, because I thought that was a really cool twist the first time I saw it, but like after all, I still think Sawtooth is better. Because I think that means more to me because it was so much more shocking, I think, that Amanda was part of it in the second one when you find that out.
Yeah, overall, the twist of Saw 2 is probably better. I think Saw 3 is a very good twist, but I think they did too much. Like they did way too much. Like it was hard to follow.
Like I would say it goes Saw, that would be like 5 out of 5 Saws for the twist ending. For Saw 2, I'd give it 4 out of 5 because I think that's a really great twist. And for Saw 3, I'm down to 3 out of 5. I think that's a good twist, but like I don't know. I guess I kind of was like, I mean, this is kind of how it goes with fucking Jigsaw. He's got a million apprentices. And also, was it the right move to kill Amanda so early in this series? I mean, maybe the actress didn't want to do it again, but like she kind of was a great character, and I feel like they wasted her pretty quick.
I 100% agree. I was bummed that Amanda was gone. I was like, well,
it was an interesting dynamic, and I don't care about the replacement guy, Hoffman, which like obviously it makes sense that there's a huge dude that's helping them, because how the fuck would they get any of these bodies anywhere? Like, you know what I mean? Both of them. So they need another guy, but like I just don't find him interesting at all. And I much prefer the dynamic between Amanda and Jigsaw. I mean, obviously they know the fans want that. That's why we're getting it in Saw X.
Well, we're done with 3. Now we're on to 4 and 5 next week.
Damn, we're busting through this shit.
Emotionally prepare yourselves, and we will see you next week.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.